Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our final session in our Educator Workshop Series. Tonight's topic is learning from colleagues, and we have three outstanding Kid Governor teachers with us here this evening who are going to share some of their experiences and, most importantly, answer your questions about successes, challenges, tips, or anything along those lines. So we are very excited about our final session this evening. My name is Brian Cofrancesco. I'm the head of the Kid Governor program for the Connecticut Democracy Center at Connecticut's Old State House. And I have one of my colleagues with me this evening, Samantha Gorski, who I'd like to invite to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Samantha Gorski, and I'm one of the Kid Governor assistants and the social media manager for Connecticut's Kid Governor.
And you'll be hearing from both Samantha and I this evening as we go through our webinar. We work for, as we said, the Connecticut Democracy Center, which is based out of the historic Old State House in Hartford. And the mission of our organization is to provide people with a lifetime pathway to active citizenship and the tools to take civic action. So with the work that we do, a lot of that has to do with the Kid Governor program, but we also achieve that through our educational programs and field trips at the Old State House, through the Connecticut History Day program, which is for middle and high school students, through public programs, community events, and our nonprofit also runs the Connecticut Network, which you may know as kind of the C-SPAN of Connecticut that offers gavel-to-gavel coverage of happenings at the state capitol. So we have really great tools and programs that bring together historic and contemporary stories and information about state government to inspire people to action today. And for Sam and I, a lot of that happens through Connecticut's Kid Governor, which is what we're here to talk about this evening. I do want to thank our partners on this workshop. We have the Connecticut State Department of Education and the Connecticut Council for the Social Studies, and I really appreciate their partnership and all they do for us year-round, as well as our funding partners, Connecticut Humanities and the Gulicki Family Foundation, who allow us and enable us really with their partnership and funding support to do what we do to offer Kid Governor as a free program. So with that, for those of you who may be new to Zoom, I'm guessing you mostly all have a great experience at this point with it. We ask you to keep yourself on mute for the time being. And if you would like to unmute yourself later when we get to the question and answer section, you can do that by clicking the little microphone button in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. We do invite you to turn your webcam on if you are interested to give it the feel of a webinar or in-person workshop. And we will be recording this to upload it to YouTube. And we are very happy. We've already had a lot of good responses to the YouTube video, so the information is getting out there. So also welcome to all of you who are going to be watching this after the fact on YouTube. So with that, we will get started. So today's workshop is learning from colleagues, experienced Kid Governor educators sharing their successes and challenges. And, you know, Samantha and our colleague Jacob and I spend a lot of time talking to teachers and explaining the program and really the benefits of it. But the people who can best share the experiences are you, the educators who are the practitioners in the classroom. So we've invited three outstanding teachers to join us today, and you'll hear from them in just a moment. So the goals for today's workshop are fairly simple and straightforward. We have our educators who are going to share their experiences, and goal number 2 is answer your questions. So we're very fortunate we had a good number that were submitted in advance, and we also have the opportunity for those of you who are joining us this evening to submit your questions through the chat or to unmute yourself to ask any questions you may have about the program or of our guest teachers this evening. So here are the three educators we have with us today, and we'll be introducing them one at a time and inviting them to speak for about 5 minutes about their experience, why they choose to participate in Kid Governor, the impact on students, successes, challenges, anything along those lines. And we'll move between each of the three of them, and then we'll open up for a question and answer and discussion. So I want to start by introducing our first speaker this evening, and that is Kristen Long. Kristen is a 5th grade teacher at Casimir Pulaski Elementary School in Meriden, and she's been teaching for 17 years, and this will be her 4th year participating in Connecticut's Kid Governor. 2 of her students have been final candidates, making it to the statewide election, And she's always one of our most enthusiastic supporters and someone who we call on quite a bit for ideas and insights in strengthening the program, especially this year during the pandemic. So I'd like to introduce Kristen Long and invite her to share some thoughts with us.
Unmute. Hi, everyone. I'm also a mom of 3, so right now we're having some technical difficulties with one shooing one out of the room. Yes, love Kid Governor. It was introduced to me 5 years ago as a district-wide program, had no idea what it was about. We all sort of went in and did the voting aspect, and after getting a feel for it, I opened it up into my classroom and into our grade. And I've had 2 state candidates. And the neat thing about this program is it really allows the kids to have power over their issue. All of the kids in my classroom are invited to participate. No one is told they can't. And I've had students who have severe learning disabilities, speech impairments, who are unable to read. We figure out ways for all of them to participate, and they all choose platforms that they're so enthusiastic about. Jason, we were so proud of him because he had speech and language for kindergarten through, and for him to stand up in front of his 5th grade peers in every class and to do that speech, that was the giant win for us. We had no idea how far he would go, but as a teacher watching that just warmed your heart, but also was amazing with the empowerment of that he felt, and he's still continuing on. This year's candidate had a tragedy right before school started, and that was what influenced her platform for suicide prevention and mental health awareness. And having her develop that and finding her friends and the grieving process empowered her to sort of push through, and now she's an advocate for so many kids out there who didn't have one before. This program is probably, for this age group, the most powerful experience and opportunity we can give them. They take it on themselves. It's their ownership. Their classmates get behind them. You can make it as big and as widespreading as you want as far as into the community. And I can't say enough about how much this, especially in the year 2020 with the presidential election coming up, them taking those world issues and bringing it into their community and having an opportunity to have a voice about it. And this program allows that to happen. And that's all for me for right now.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah.
That was good. We really appreciate all that. You have some very powerful stories of your students.
Yes, I forgot one of my students is severely challenged and is unable to read and is working at about a kindergarten level and was very, very insistent that she wanted to be part of this. So we figured out a way to write her speech through text to talk on the computer. But the problem was she had to do her speech in front of the classes, and on their own, her classmates stood behind her and parroted every sentence of the speech so that she could present it on her own in front of each of the classes. So again, that community building, you can't make that happen. It just is organic and it's amazing. And now I'm done.
Oh, your stories are wonderful.
I love my stories.
Thank you. And we'll hear more from Kristen in a little bit. So our second educator this evening is Michaela Scalza. She's a 5th grade teacher at Woodside Intermediate School in Cromwell. 2 of her students have been final candidates in the statewide election, and this will be her 5th year participating in Kid Governor and her 6th year teaching. I always think of Micaela because I share one of her quotes all the time. It's appeared in our brochures and a lot of our publications. She said back in 2016, so 4 years ago, "My family is tired of hearing me talk about Kid Governor. I've been so excited, and that's all I've been talking about. It's been an incredible experience. It's brought such energy to our school that was desperately needed." So with that, I would like to introduce Michaela Scalza.
Well, that is very true. I forgot I said that quote, and time again, my parents are actually joining the webinar because they're so proud of me and Kid Governor. So thank you, my parents, for being here. My name is Micaela, and I'm going to be sharing my experiences with the Kid Governor program. I'm going to talk about all of the strengths and some funny challenges that I've had, but the funny challenges are actually just how powerful this program is and how the students get so into it. So a little bit ago, about 4 years ago, we received an email from the Connecticut Democracy Center about a Kid Governor program. Now, I was in my second year teaching, and I saw this email, and I couldn't be more excited. As someone who finds voting and learning about government so essential, I ran to my principal as a fresh, brand new teacher and said we had to make this possible. I'm so fortunate to work with such an incredible group of administrators that totally took the idea and ran with it with me. So I'm first going to share some of the incredible successes I have had with the Kid Governor program. First and foremost, as a teacher who has been teaching for 6 years, this is something that kids will remember forever. As I have had kids visit me in the past, or as I go over some of the most successful things that have happened to a child during their time as their teacher, almost always it's Kid Governor. I've had kids come back to me and say, who won Kid Governor this year? What were their platforms? You know, did anyone do something different than what we did? It is such a buzz. These kids remember it forever. I will tell you that I have had 2 students who have made as final candidates, and these students continue to use their platform to bring it to the middle school, and now one of them is even going into high school, and he showed me that he's going to be bringing his environmental platform to a high school level, which is fantastic. He's still on the fight to get rid of styrofoam trays in our school district, which is incredible. So, and every time I end my school year, I ask them what their favorite thing was, and hands down, no matter how cool I think my other things are that I did as a teacher, it's always Kid Governor, which is incredible. I think especially during this year, one of the other successes is this is something to look forward to. I have already written to my team about how great you guys have done on making this digital for the unknown. And I'm really excited that I actually still get to do Kid Governor this year, and you've made it so easy and so accessible for us. I've had many students, because Kid Governor is so big in our school, I've had some of my students already reach out to me saying, are we still doing Kid Governor this year? And I'm like, absolutely we are. So it's something to look forward to in such an uncertain time. So for that, I am eternally grateful. I also think another success is parents absolutely enjoy this process. They are there helping their kids with the campaign. They're rooting their kids on. They love that we're teaching about this in school because it is so essential and so critical. One of my students was filming their campaign video, and mom had to drop off his suit and tie to make sure he had it for that day because he forgot it. The parents are so involved, which is such a great school and home connection. Also, I think that this program does a beautiful job of going through the history of voting and also talking about the importance of voting, how every vote matters, and I think that's something that every child should learn. Not only is their voice important, but their vote is important as well. I love when the lessons talk about how close some elections were, or the visualization of if everyone doesn't vote, look how many people that is. The kids are shocked to know that more people watch the Super Bowl than actually vote in elections at some times. And we need our children to know that their voice is powerful and important. Also, through the Kid Governor program, administration and teachers have realized that this is actually kind of a gap. Some of the students don't know a lot about government. I mean, some of my students didn't even know what the voting age was. They thought it was 16, or some thought it was 21. So what was great about bringing the Kid Governor program into our school is that it taught us that this was important and there were gaps. And as I've been doing this program for many years, I'm seeing that gap go smaller and smaller. And even the middle school teachers are like, what did you do? They know so much about government. And I'm like, Kid Gov, I'll talk to anyone about it. I only have 2 struggles, and they're not even really struggles. They're just things to be aware of. So my school district is a no food policy school. So we are absolutely not allowed to share food of any sort. So I had a student running for Kid Governor, and he comes into my room and he's like, would you like a donut? And I'm like, okay. I put it to the side, everything like that. I found out that he was campaigning and handing out donuts to kids to try to get their vote. And I said to myself, very good campaigning strategy, but we can't bring donuts to people. But I tell you that because that was one of the funniest stories. I tell people about this because it was electric. The kid was like, but I want people to know. And he had a slogan with his donuts and everything. And I just was like, these kids are in. They are so in and they love it. And the last thing I'm going to mention, because I'm sure I'm definitely over my 5 minutes, but the last thing I will mention is, as a teacher, we know that sometimes when we're given something new, it's just one more thing on our plate, one more thing for us to learn. When I told my teachers at first about this program, they were like, Micaela, we don't want to learn a new curriculum. It's going to be too much work. But then they saw the intense lesson outlines, worksheets, a scope and sequence that is a teacher's dream, and they ate into the program. It wasn't another thing. It was everything that we needed for social studies. So as a teacher, sometimes it can feel like something more, but the way that this program is set up, it is so complex, it is so rigorous, it is so important, and I cannot speak enough about how great it has been for our community. So to wrap up, I want you to think about, when you want to decide to do this program, I want you to think about the electricity that is going to be in the air when you have election day. I had a student that was sick and had to have their mom come in and watch the campaign video so she would still be able to vote. The balloons, the stickers, the books, this program is top notch, and I am honored and humbled to be able to speak about such an incredible program. So thank you so much.
Well, I always goosebumps. I remember when we first talked 4 years ago and hearing how excited you were.
It's still there. I still love it. It hasn't changed.
Well, you had so many good points, and I'm going to wait. We'll be able to draw all of them out in the rest of the session. But I loved to hear that Nathaniel, I think it was, right, is still working on his styrofoam platform. And that's incredible. And that's something that our team has been talking about internally. And I would love to continue talking to you about this, Micaela, is about capturing those students who they have that experience in 5th grade and they choose to continue it on. Kristen talked about Jason from her school who ran on children's literacy. He's still working on his platform a year or 2 years later.
Yeah, and they're even running for, like, so I also had Dylan, and he's actually now, I just spoke with his mother a little recently ago, but he's in student council and stuff like that. So, like, you know, even if he didn't get to continue his platform, he still realized, like, for a lot of kids, they realize that this is actually a gateway to so many opportunities, debate clubs, or being like class president or like class representative. It really opens up a new world for many children. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Micaela. And we'll be hearing more from her in a little bit. And now I'll introduce our third educator joining us tonight, and that's Christy Euveges. She's a 5th grade teacher at Canton Intermediate School in Canton. She's been teaching for 20 years, and this will be her 6th year participating in Kid Governor. And I was particularly pleased that she agreed to speak tonight because Christy was the very first teacher I talked to about Kid Governor back when it was a nugget of an idea in the spring of 2015. I didn't even have my boss's approval to be moving forward with this program, but I had to talk to somebody, and there was a 5th grade teacher who was coming to the old State House. And we had a conversation about the possibility of such a program of kids running for office and finding issues they cared about, learning about voting and elections by actually practicing that. And I have to say, if it were not for that conversation and her excitement and enthusiasm, we probably would not have moved forward with the Kid Governor program. So I credit so much of that to Christy and the little conversation we had during her class's lunch at the old State House. And am very happy that she's able to join us here this evening. So Christy Euveges.
Great, thank you, Brian. And it's amazing when you have conversations, the takeaway that people have had. So I feel very humbled that we were able to have such a nice conversation with that. So look at where we are, how many years later. So I really wanted to, it's great that we have so many different teachers on here, because I was sort of angling this more as a teacher getting this email, and as Micaela said, oh no, I have too much on my plate, I can't do it. So I'm sort of angling like, what would be some steps that you could take to implement this into your curriculum as much as you want it to be and as small as you may need it to be. So I do have a slideshow, but I'm not going to show it because I'm not confident that I'm going to lose you all. So I'm just going to sort of go back and forth with it. So before I go on, I do want to credit my teammates. I work with 2 other people in Canton, and we're all social studies teachers. And the 3 of us really work simultaneously. We work together. I sort of kicked it off at the beginning, but then it keeps spiraling into bigger and bigger and bigger, which is the coolest thing about this program. So I want to give a shout out to Trisha Reynolds and Eric Brody, my teammates. So moving along, I was thinking, like, if you were just getting this email, you, like myself, may be like, oh, I just want to go ahead and approach the voting only. So some of the things that I did when I was doing the voting only is I just aligned it with our government unit, because there are some other things that we were doing in our unit. The toolkit, as Micaela and Kristen mentioned online, is amazing. And the nice thing is you can take what you need, and if you don't have time or the time to do it, then you skip things and you pull out some of the things that fit the best. So I want to just mention some of the things that I thought were amazing and I wouldn't skip. And that was after you discuss the importance of voting and why you may be doing this kid governor, and really making that connection of what is their role. Okay, I'm going to watch these videos, so what? So really having that conversation that your voice is being heard. So I love, Brian, your toolkit about analyzing the videos, and that really takes away the popularity part of a person. And really, they have to really focus on how people are speaking, their campaign platform, which is the biggest thing. Are they being represented? All of that. So that is a great, great toolkit I would make sure that you use if you're doing the voting only. When we did the voting, we had to make it a little bit short. So we only had 2 days for the voting, and we went over with the kids. We showed it on the overhead and we showed them how to access it. And then we did an example of how you look at one of these campaign videos and how you analyze it. And that was a great to do, like a thinking aloud process of how you analyze these videos. And then in 5th grade, we were able to send them off on their own. They had to do the rest of them. And then it really took 2 days to do that. And then on that 2nd day, you can always set up the classroom as much as you want to make it look like a voting area. I think I had the back room set up with privacy folders, and that was their voting center. You had the election box and the beautiful stickers or pins. So once everyone was done, or I should say, as people finished their packet of analyzing the campaign videos, that was their ticket to bring up to me. And once they had that, then it was their opportunity to go ahead and make an election. And we really talked about, when you're electing and voting, you really need to have a background. You need to have an understanding of what this is all about. So that was a great sort of steps that I used to do it. And then, of course, revealing the answer or the winner. The kids are always coming back. Did you find out? Did you find out? Did you find out? And then just really quickly, we did that for the year, got our feet wet. I got more comfortable with it. And then we started nominating students, and same things as above as that we mentioned, but in this case, we introduced it and we used some of the past Kid Governor videos to sort of kick it off. And that was a great way for us to have conversations. What are you noticing in these videos? And then we spiraled into different campaign platforms, brainstorming them together as a class. And I think that really was helpful to spark some of the interest and the ideas. And then for us, we used it as, if you're interested in running for Kid Governor, then you can go ahead and go through the steps of doing a speech and then going through the various steps based on it. Now in our school, like I said, we're in partnerships. So we had a bunch of different voting processes. Like myself and my other partner teacher, we got together and we probably had 6, 7, 8 candidates. And then together they presented to just the 2 classes. And then we came up with 1 candidate that would represent us. And the other 2 classes did the same. So we had a fair amount of people running. They got a feeling of being represented as well. But then each person or each partnership had 1 representative. And that's when we made it really big. We went into our cafeteria. We invited Brian to come and speak. We had, I think, our principal there. We had our past winner from our school there to speak. And that was a great day. You could feel the excitement. Like I said, you can really make it as big or as little as you want it to be. But that was a lot of fun. And then the 3 candidates spoke, and then we went back into our classrooms and voted from there. And so those were sort of the steps that we took. I'm hoping that sort of the steps that you take, like I said, you can make it as big or as little, get your feet wet if you want, if you need to, before you dive right in. That's all for me for now.
Thank you so much, Christy. That was wonderful. And I love how you're able to give that overview of like the high points to make sure you focus on. And I was so honored to go to your school and to watch your primary. And I don't know if you've seen the new toolkits yet, but there's a picture on page, I think it's 3 in the introduction. It's from your primary of one of your students up at the podium. And they had signs, they had, flags and balloons and everything. It was such a lively experience. Well, thank you to our 3 educators for their initial remarks, and I'm now going to pass it over to Samantha, who's going to ask some questions that she has received in advance or any that might have been sent to her directly in the chat.
All right, so our first question for the evening is, do you have any suggestions for how to do this program in a hybrid model? Of course, everyone has different models that they're going back to school with. Some people are going hybrid, some are all in person, some are online. Does anyone have any tips?
We are kind of in a hybrid place. We have over 50% now distance learning from our school. So we have talked to our team, and what we're going to do is create a Google Classroom for any student in 5th grade who is interested in doing the Kid Governor program, and kind of do maybe video vignettes or things like that to introduce the different lessons so that they're all getting the same kind of exposure. And then we can break them off into smaller groups and work with them on their campaigns and their campaign speeches. I mean, it's still a work in progress. It's, as we say lately, everything is fluid. So we're figuring it out. But right now, I think that we're just going to open it up to everyone and then work from there. And I think that having that one common area, we can start streamlining it down to the kids who are going to go all the way through. And then we can also hold the election so the distance learners and the in-person learners all will have the same exposure and be able to vote.
Can I go next? Okay, so I think too, it was actually funny. I sat in on the session a few days ago about like all the things you guys are going to do for the program. And half of my coworkers said, thank goodness for KidGov, because you guys took the time to really prepare yourself over the summer. So one thing that we were dabbling with is we also too are in a hybrid model. We have about like 80 to 90% of our students participating in the hybrid model and only 10% coming digitally. Yeah, it's good. Yep, so we're excited. They're all coming back. So what we're planning on doing is we're really trying to use all of the resources that you guys have spent the time doing over the summer. So we even talked about, like, when we do have the students in person, doing the tasks and doing the lessons there, and then all of those Google Forms that you guys changed into worksheets, that's what's going to be done as the independent practice. So whenever you have the kids in front of you, do the lesson. The independent practice and pretending they're a governor or going over their platforms can be done at home. And how great to bridge the school and home community where parents can now be sitting side by side and really having these incredible conversations with their students. And I also think Brian talked about before how they're going to try to get representatives to kind of even do video testimonies or like some of the lessons. If you are working in digital format, do use those, right? Use all of the resources that they have. And my philosophy is this, is as we go into this hybrid model with a lot of unknowns, even a little bit of KidGov will go a long way. So like Christy said before, like take what you can, what you think you can do, and your kids will really feed off of it.
If I could just add on to that, absolutely. And I think we've always said this, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, Christy, in your remarks, is that the toolkits are meant to be a guide for you. And so it is a really robust document, and it's got the lesson plans, it's got the unit plan, it has everything you need. But if you need to condense or you need to reshape, they're meant to be tools that can be modified and adapted for your classroom. So this year especially, we are encouraging you to adapt, to do whatever you need to do. If you missed our workshop that Micaela was referencing on Tuesday on running the program in a blended or a virtual environment, take a look on YouTube. We go over all the resources we've created. So there's at least 2 ways you can deliver each lesson, if not 3 or more. We've provided Google Forms, Google Slides, which can also be used as PowerPoints if you're not in a Google or a Google Classroom district. And there's other suggestions and adaptations in there. And we'll say this many times tonight, but number one thing to walk away with is that our team is here to support you however you need it. You know, this program would not be possible without you, so we encourage you to email us, call us, whatever you need to do, if you have any questions at all as you work to adapt to virtual.
All right. So our next question is, what is the time commitment of doing a full program and having students submit videos and run for Kid Governor versus just voting?
I think you can make it as big or as little as you want, which is the nice thing about the program. So you could make, I think, Kristen, you were saying that your school, everyone did it and went through the speech process. I know in our school, we went through whole class introduction, but then those that were interested. So really it works for whatever model you want and the time that you have.
All right, thank you. So our next question is, what has been the most rewarding experience you've had as a Ctkg educator?
I mean, I think there's so many, and I actually think, and I'm gonna just ask Kristen. Kristen, was your student the student who ran last year? Did he run last year on a platform like of children? I don't know who is that. Am I correct?
Little Libraries and Children's Literacy. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally cried at that campaign platform, I will tell you. So like I was like bawling my eyes out. My kids are like, I'm gonna vote for him. I was like, don't vote for him because I'm saying it was so great. But no, I just had to check on that one too. But I think the most rewarding, my heart. I think the most rewarding thing about this program is how invested as a teacher, like I'm telling you, I was crying over a campaign video. One, is like, you just see the passion and the confidence in kids that might not have had that confidence before. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my school. So I work in 5th grade, but we have 7 5th grade classes in one school. So what we do is we have all of the kids that want to run in our classrooms. We elect one person, and then as an entire school, we do a big election with the 7 finals from all of the different classes. The most rewarding thing about this program is seeing the kids create a platform and get up in front of the classroom that you never expected to get up there. And the passion and the drive and the creativity that these children come up with are just remarkable. It's like oftentimes when you watch a kid, when they get up there, you're like, I mean, you spend so much time with these kids, so you're so proud of them. I'm like taking photos of them and like cheering them on in the back, because sometimes I haven't heard those kids share their ideas at all in the classroom. And the first time I hear them, because we do this program in the beginning of the year, is when they do their Ktg platform. And it's so beautiful and it's so rewarding to see these kids find their voice. And I also too have been able to go to the inauguration, which really, I mean, the program does such a great job of making it feel as if it is a real inauguration. The electricity in the air, like I keep mentioning, is so real. So I think one of the best moments is seeing your kids grow, find their voice, and just yourself as an educator being so proud, not only of your own kids, but kids all across Connecticut finding their voice. It is quite incredible. Like I was saying before, that campaign video, you just couldn't help but to feel the passion from these kids. I don't even know them, so it was so incredible.
And I would just add on to Micaela, that they take ownership and have such passion, but I feel like also the kids, their peers are sometimes very shocked and surprised, and you know, opens up a communication and world among themselves where they see classmates in a different light, maybe because of the way they presented themselves, or maybe it's the platform. So it was really neat to be also see that angle between each other as well.
I loved that my class always supported each other, but the neat thing is after they did all of their speeches, we purposely had them vote very close so they couldn't, you know, have any lunchtime discussions. So they voted, and we went to lunch, and during recess, which happened to be inside, them turning and saying, I thought that I was going to vote for so-and-so because she was my friend, but then I heard so-and-so's speech and it was really good, and I kind of want them to win because I kind of want them to be able to do whatever it is their platform was. And having those conversations where their voice empowered someone to change their mind, so awesome. You know, things that I had some kids say, I wound up not even voting for myself because I really want that other person to win. So, I mean, really allowing that voice to really be powerful, and seeing that was the most amazing part of it for me.
If I could add in really quickly to connect Micaela's remarks with Kristen's remarks, I was going the year that Jason was running on that platform, and you talked a little bit about his story about having special needs and gaining the confidence to speak publicly and to run for office, which I later found out he didn't even tell his parents. He just did it on his own, and they were even that much more impressed and amazed by their child for having done this. I was bringing Kristen the traveling exhibit and was talking to a parent in the hallway who said that her daughter had been running, and she said, you know, my daughter has epilepsy, and she came home and she told us and her grandmother all about her platform to help people with epilepsy. She had 3 points, it went into the whole detail of it, and ended with saying, but I'm not going to vote for myself. I'm going to vote for Jason because he has a better platform, and I think he would be a really good kid governor. And I think that just connecting what you both like, to see that the kids are thinking critically about each other's platform, and it's not about themselves, it's about really who's going to be able to make the greatest difference.
All right, so our next question is, what got you interested in participating in Ctkg?
So I'll go. I think first, as a new teacher, I was really excited when we got the email. Great marketing. So like I saw it and I totally bought into it. And then when we took a look at all of the scripts and everything like that and the lessons and everything, it was just totally a no-brainer that this was something that could totally transform a social studies curriculum and also could transform a school community too. I think what's really important too is to get interested in it. You do need support, and my administration was so great in giving that support. And I also love history. It's been one of my passions forever. So to bring my passion to children was so incredible. It was just the best of both worlds, and it looked like a blast. So I mean, how could you pass up on it? You know what I mean? That's why I got interested. I was so excited to teach it. I was excited.
So I would say, as Brian mentioned, our conversation earlier about just this program, and I think we can all say sometimes we get into the groove of the curriculum and this is what needs to be done. And this was an opportunity for really to have history come alive and for the kids to make a real life connection. And as someone mentioned earlier, this is what they remember about 5th grade social studies. And I think that's the number one seller, is they need to experience it and understand it. And that's how they do it, is through Kid Governor. So thank you again for creating this amazing program for them to be able to have social studies come alive.
And just like both of you, I was introduced to it and I was a voting only teacher. My first year, I had no idea anything about it. And just going through the process of being in the voting group, got kind of excited. I'm like, I think I can do this. And it's really fostered so many great conversations that very first year, because there was no, I wasn't going to have to lose anything in it. I didn't have any stake in the game. So you could have a lot of conversations. And the next year, I couldn't believe, how excited the kids got. And I was hooked. So now, yeah, I'm a KidGov addict and I'm not ashamed of it.
Thank you. We're happy that you guys are addicted to the program. It makes it so much fun for us every year to watch the student videos, and then when you guys come for Inauguration Day or for field trips, we love seeing the students' reactions and your guys' reactions. And hopefully one day you guys can all come back to the building and share the Kid Governor's office with your students one day. So our next question is for those who have had students become finalists, what was your experience as the teacher?
Amazing. The best part as the teacher, whether they make it or not, is getting the phone call from Brian. That is my favorite part, because you just sit there and you feel like you have Christmas and Lotto and everything happens and it usually always comes when you have like a super yucky day as a teacher, and then they call you to the office and you're like, oh, please. And you say, it's Brian from KidGov, and you're like, oh my God, even if it's bad news, you're very excited. But the inauguration is mind-blowing, so I hope everybody gets the chance to do that. I've had the opportunity twice, and both times are just absolutely amazing experiences for the kids. So thank you. And Brian, I hope I get another call this year. Woohoo!
It's so funny that you say that about the call, because I remember my first call too, because it was my first year, and of course, I didn't just do voting. I jumped right into nominating someone our first year out the gate. And I remember that my secretary called, and they were like, someone named Brian is trying to call. I was like, whoa, put him through. I was in the middle of it, I was teaching, and I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. And then I was going around telling anyone. I remember calling my parents. I remember calling my husband. I was so proud. And, you get so excited when those phone calls come, because you know that you are now a top 8. And then I got the opportunity to call the parents and just the extreme gratification from the parents. Like, I didn't think he was gonna win. Oh my goodness, get to the top 8. That's incredible. Oh my, like, just so exciting. And then I think another thing that was really cool that that you guys did was when you did have a top 8, I know previously you had like a little sign that says like a top 8 student goes to school here. So I would like walk into school every day and be so proud that that was one of my kiddos that had made it. Just the phone call is so exciting when you find out, and going to the inauguration, I mean, I was getting goosebumps by the guest list also too, by the way. I was like, you're about to meet the governor, you're meeting senators, we know this is a big deal because of the first lesson that we did in KidGov, you know it, think about it, which branch, you know, like you're getting your kids ready. I remember preparing my kids like, there's an extremely awesome guest list coming to this. So my government heart geeked out, but then my kids also were so excited too. And, you know, all my kids like dressed up that day, and my principal came with me. I will remember that day forever. And I know my kids will too. So much so that my principal even made a magnet of all of us at the inauguration, my entire class, and he gave it to all of us. So it was a remarkable day for everyone. So, yeah.
All right. So as we all know, having buy-in from your school or your district is a huge part of being able to do this. So for our 3 teachers here, what support do you have from your school community? So from your administrators, from your team members, from the parents?
I guess I'll start. I don't even, the first year, I think I just signed up for voting without even talking to anyone, because you're voting. And I think it was later on that I might have had a conversation with the administration, and they're very supportive, I think. And then of course we went into the nominating, and then you hook them in and you get them involved, and I feel like they're very supportive in that way. The parents are supportive in having their children have this opportunity to express themselves and come up with those ideas. So I haven't come across any roadblocks in that way.
No, there's been no roadblocks. My Board of Ed has also been very supportive of it as well. So not only has like my building and my team is so supportive. Our chat was going off the walls about how excited they were to start it this year. And then if you think about my building principals, are nothing but supportive. They come to the assemblies that we do every year for it. He even went out and got us extra I voted stickers. My principal has been nothing but supportive. But my superintendent and Board of Ed also have been extremely supportive. So after our program is over, we kind of have like a certain date where we actually present all of our top 7 candidates to the Board of Education, regardless if we made it to the top 8 or anything. And the kids dress up, they go to the Board of Ed, they get to say what their platform was, and the Board of Ed looks forward to it every single year. So we've now done that 4 years in a row. So the community supports it. We've even had Representative Christy Carpino come to some of our assemblies. So this is a whole town feel, all the way to the Board of Education, who has been supportive.
So we always have support all the way around, from Board of Ed down through administration. They kind of let me just do whatever I need to do, and I'm good about it. And Brian, I am like totally having brain blank right now, because this year we had community support from our representatives in Meriden, which I'm sorry, I was at the beach for an entire week and my brain is blank. But also Commissioner Cardona reached out to my candidate regarding her platform, because he is looking to do a lot of focus on mental health within the schools this year. So It was cut short because of COVID, so I don't know if that's going to connect, but he had expressed interest in connecting with her to sit with them with the student perspective. So it's really cool when it goes way beyond your classroom.
If she's willing to, I'd love to have Elaine Tamel, who's another teacher on the meeting today. If she'd be willing to share, she also presented to her Board of Education this year with one of her final candidates, and I'd love for her to share her story of that.
Thank you. I've been sitting here dying to chime in. I just want to thank everyone who's here today. It's been really wonderful. And I would echo that I agree with many of the comments that have been made. It's a phenomenal program. It's all about the kids, for the kids, by the kids, for all kids of all levels of academic ability. My first year was voting only, and I wished I had put forth a candidate last year that went to the finals and did not win, but it was still so exciting. And the inauguration is a phenomenal event. And she continued working on her platform, and really I think one of the questions was, what was the best teacher moment? Mine was the kids who worked on the campaign wanting to continue to work on the platform after, even though our student wasn't elected. So that just proved to me how much it really did mean to the students. So for the Board of Ed meeting, what we did is brought our finalists to the Board of Ed, and my school principal talked a little bit about the program. And then I basically just introduced Kylie, our cabinet, who became a cabinet member, and she took it away. I wanted to really have it be her moment, and for the Board of Ed members to hear from the student, not from myself. I love the idea of bringing all the students. I think that's wonderful. But she did a terrific job. It's amazing how I found that she had never before done any public speaking, and really was so composed and well spoken, and had prepared her own remarks that she wanted to share with the Board of Ed about her experience through the Kid Governor program. And it was, I think, clear to everyone in the audience and on the Board of Education that night that I did not write the script for her, that she had written it and she was delivering the message in her own words, which was really nice. And I think a presentation to the Board of Ed goes a long way in getting that support, similar to what I think Christy had mentioned. The first year, you just kind of, or someone said the first year, it was just you. It was kind of like that the first year for me. It was just me and my classes. And the second year, we had some transitions. Fifth grade was moving out of the middle school back into the elementary school, and teachers were being shifted into new grade levels, and the team composition had changed, and there was a lot going on. And it did, some teachers just sort of felt like, oh, this is one more thing, like came up earlier today. But I think once someone, once one teacher starts the ball rolling, you pick up a lot of momentum very quickly, and teachers can see that the tools are very easy to use and the content is simple enough to get through. I think there was another question about how long does it take. I think there are some lessons that are a little longer than others. It's a set of 15 lessons, 14 and 15 is all about analyzing and preparing the video. So if you weren't putting forth a candidate, I think some of the later lessons can be skipped. And there were some lessons that, just depending on what was going on that week, I did have to scroll through a little faster. And there were others that the kids were so enthusiastic about the topic and had so many questions that they lasted into the next class period. So I would also agree that it's sort of take what you can do and leave what you can't do, maybe especially if it's your first year. Just do what you can, and then you know, if you have more time and the kids are enthusiastic, you can take it the whole way. It's a wonderful experience, and it was really great hearing from everyone today.
Thanks, Elaine, for adding to the conversation there. And I think it's important to note, Brian, you can interrupt me if I'm wrong on something, but the whole point of the toolkits is to make it as easy as possible for teachers, whether you're voting only or you're nominating a student. By no means are you fully required to do all 15 lessons or all the lessons in the toolkits. With this, especially this year where time might be a real big constraint. The toolkits are meant for you to kind of pick and choose what's best for your students, what meets your needs for your classroom. And of course, you can make modifications as you need. If you want to add or something to a lesson, please do. And if you do and it works out, please let us know. We love to hear from what teachers are doing for their classrooms and what works best. And know if something doesn't work, let us know that too, because we can't make the program better unless we get feedback. So thank you guys so much. So our next question kind of overlaps a little bit with maybe the most rewarding question, but what have your favorite memories been with your students, whether they've won or lost? What have been those moments that really stand out?
I'll jump in again if you don't mind. Give everyone else a moment to think. I would say one of the most exciting moments for me was after we had filmed Kylie's campaign video and we were going to send it over to Brian. We had a video release party for the kids who had worked, all the kids on the campaign committee. And I asked the kids, you know, how do you want to celebrate? And they wanted cupcakes and pizza. And so I asked our principal if she would attend with us and if we could kind of preview the video with her. And, you know, you would have thought we had given those kids $1 million. They were so proud of their work on the, you know, a 3-minute video, Kylie's campaign video, and they were so excited to celebrate together. And, you know, it is very powerful. I see some comments in the chat and others have mentioned earlier today. The chance for these kids to make a difference in their community and to have their voice being heard is so motivating to them. There is, you know, frankly, a lot of the school day where is teacher directed and there's not a lot of choice. You don't choose to necessarily to, you know, do an assignment or to take a standardized test. But when you have a choice to put forth a plan for something that you feel passionate about, it is really exciting for the kids. And for me, it was just, I gotta say, I was a little surprised at how passionate the kids really were. Kids of all different abilities, again, who rose to the occasion to make the platform happen, and the other kids who supported Kylie was just really great.
My probably most rewarding memory from this process was when Jason, who did not win, but we kept pushing to get his little library set up at our school, and getting the library through IPTO and them supporting him, and Brian helping out with the Kiwanis, and calling, you know, building and maintenance saying we need to get it in before the last day of school. And it actually was in the second to the last day of school, and having that big celebration with balloons and all of his classmates coming out, and, you know, and it's still being there. And he has younger siblings, and it says on the back, you know, that it was dedicated to him, and people are still bringing in books. I have books overflowing if anybody needs books or little libraries, because it's still something that's an alive platform. And I think that's probably the most awesome part of it, is that the platforms continue, and they still are.
I'll add quick. I would say one of the biggest memories or biggest accomplishments is probably, Brian, when you came with the primary that we had, the excitement of everyone in the room, the 3 people that were speaking. We were involving the 6th grader that had a past experience. And then when everything was done, the whispers of, oh my gosh, I can't believe they wrote that speech and it was amazing and love that platform. So I think that's why we do what we do, is because of those connections that the kids are making among themselves as well.
Thank you. So our next question is, what's the advice that you guys have to make this successful in your classroom?
I think I've been highlighting it is go for it, and you can make it as big, as small, or as big as you want it to be, and make it grow more and more as you feel comfortable. So that would be my biggest advice, and use the online tools. They're great.
Yeah, use the online tools. They're amazing. I think like what everyone said, believe in yourself, believe in your kids. It's not just one more thing. It's one great thing. It's something to look forward to. It's something that your kids will look forward to. And dive in whatever you're comfort with, you know, like whatever you're comfortable with. Just give it a shot. And I promise you, when you give it a shot, you're not going to look back. You're going to be wondering why you haven't done this for a long time. So give it a shot. You'd be amazing, and it will be amazing. And enjoy the process, because it, unfortunately, it kind of goes fast because it's a short window. And I I'm excited that day when we elect someone from our school. I'm like, you're not going to get any teaching done, by the way, after that until you release the results, because the kids are just like, when are we going to find out? You're not going to teach. It's fine. I've accepted that after year 4. But, you know, just enjoy it, be with the kids, and I get sad when it's over, because the rest of my social studies curriculum is great, but this is one that the conversations are rich, adults are learning alongside the kids. It's a beautiful process.
All right.
Can I just give one other piece of advice I would say is to teachers who do want to put forth a candidate, do not worry about making that video, a Hollywood perfection kind of status. We talked, this was mentioned in some of the webinars earlier this week. If you have video equipment, that's wonderful. If you don't, film it on a cell phone, and it works. Just to, go to the tips for filming a video, avoid distractions, avoid showing your school name, etc. But that, for me, that was one of the things I was most worried about my first years. Is like, I'm not a techie person. I don't have a video camera. How can I possibly put forth these great campaign videos? And again, the kids really rose to the occasion, accepted the challenge, and we had a nice little video, and it was done on a cell phone, and it works. So if anyone's kind of scared about the video portion of it, don't be, we talked about this on Wednesday, I think, in the webinar, that the platform and the kid's personality will come through loud and clear, even if you don't have a flashy video. Just know that the video does take some time, and it may take a few different takes. So that's where I make sure you don't wait till the last minute.
All right, so one of our final questions is, from your perspective as the teacher, what do the students seem to like most about the program? We've touched on this a little bit, I think, in a lot of the answers, but what did the students like? We do get to see some of their responses for the end of the program survey. So we've seen a little bit about what they like, but you guys are in the classroom with your students all year usually. What do they talk about afterwards? What do they seem to enjoy the most?
The election. That day, you can feel the electricity in the air. It's an actual thing. They can't wait. It's all the classes. It's all they talk about. So I think their favorite thing is the election.
For sure, the election. They absolutely love it. And I also think, too, I think they really love making the video, because I think sometimes what happens with my kids is that when one person gets nominated, they think it's over for the whole class. And then I'm like, oh no, we have just begun. We have to do a costume set. We have to do backgrounds. We have to do scripts. And they're like, what? And so they learn that they're part of the process. So I will tell you, the day that we are filming days are so exciting for the kids too, because they realize that they are pieces to the puzzle for this, and that it's not over, it's just yet begun. So I agree. I think the election day, first and foremost, but second, the creation of the video is really fantastic, because it's an entire class effort. I say it's not just one kid, it's our entire class, and the support they give that student is remarkable.
And I'll just add, totally agreeing with what you guys are both saying, and just adding to it, Brian, you guys supply us with those election boxes and the I voted today stickers, and I think those things just make it come alive even more. So I think those are great additions. So thank you for providing that for us.
Thank you. So our final question before we start wrapping up is actually in relation to the election, but how do you guys get your students excited with the primaries and actually voting, or the voting day and all that?
It doesn't take much. They're already excited. They know what's coming. They just wanted to get there. After hearing the speeches, doing the, we have our box out in the hall. We make it very official. One at a time can vote, so they know, and they can't. We have someone outside of the classroom, counting, so they're all excited. They love watching the videos. We don't have to do anything. They're excited on their own. It's that good of a program. It's just built in. Maybe it should be like Kid Governor Fun. Should be something, because they love it.
I'll say ditto.
I would agree with that as well. I think that the voting is really fun, and I had another comment, but it just slipped my mind. Yeah, I didn't feel like I had to do a lot to generate excitement. It happened naturally. I will say I am looking forward to having the traveling exhibit, because one goal I have this year for Kid Governor is looping in the fourth graders. I think it does happen very quickly from the start of school to November. So I'd like to start bringing in the fourth graders, earlier, and having them see the traveling exhibit, and maybe listen to some of the speeches, even kind of collaborating with the fourth grade team, so we can really hit the ground running in the fall of the fifth grade year.
If I could tag something on to the question that Samantha asked as a follow-up to that, and it's so wonderful to hear how excited kids get when it comes to that election. Do you have any ideas of how you might generate a similar level of excitement this fall if students are virtual or if they're hybrid, and how to create that enthusiasm? That's something our team's thinking about, and we have some ideas we'll be sharing, but just curious to know if you have any thoughts at this point of how you might generate that.
I know that we are going to be doing videos of the speeches and sending them out to all of the kids, whether that's through Google Classroom or if they're not able to do them, maybe we'll film them live in a classroom and then shoot them out to them. But we want to make sure that we have the exposure of all the candidates for everyone. And once those speeches are out, I mean, the excitement is immediate. So once that happens and we can engage them that way, it'll take off on its own.
All right, thank you.
Sorry. I think in the hybrid, I'm hybrid for now, and who knows what will happen by November, but assuming we're still hybrid, I think any opportunity for the kids in smaller groups to be able to talk to each other helps generate the excitement in a virtual capacity. And I know that allowing kids to run with their ideas and even manage the discussion when they're meeting with each other will help them take ownership of it. And I think it's the ownership that helps contribute to their passion for it.
All right. So finally, are there any closing thoughts, comments, suggestions, anything at all before we start wrapping up?
I just want to say thank you for taking the time this summer to make it possible for us. It was a really like a light at the end of the tunnel to hear all of the work that you guys did to continue this. So we really appreciate it. Teachers are going to have a lot to do in the next coming weeks, and knowing that you guys took care of so many things in such a thoughtful way is really, really great. So I know some people might be hesitant to start Kid Governor this year because of what's happening, but don't be. I mean, this team has really set us up actually in ways that even enhance the program even more, that I didn't even know it could happen anymore. But now you add PowerPoints and Google Forms. Those are some buzzwords for teachers, so we like those things. So just want to say eternally grateful for this program. I hope it continues forever, and thank you so much for letting me be part of the panel today.
I would like to say, if teachers are watching this on YouTube and you see someone from your district and doing this, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, I would answer any questions from anyone who is interested or is concerned or has questions. So that door is always open. And thank you guys for all the work that you do.
I'll go ahead and just add a couple of things. Not much different than what you guys were already mentioning, but it's great work that you guys have. It's a great program. I would suggest just dive in, do what you can, and I think you'll be surprised, and I think it'll really have a big impact on your students, and you'll be very thankful, and they'll be very thankful for the program as well.
I just say thanks for letting me crash the panel. And I would echo what you may have heard earlier this week or in other webinars from Brian and Samantha and Jacob. They say that they're available to help, and they are. They're just a phone call or an email away. I can't imagine how they could possibly respond to my concerns and questions so quickly when they obviously have so much work to do, but they do. So that's a big help from a teaching perspective, to have them, you know, just an email or a phone call away to support you when you need it. And if you haven't seen the other webinars, they're all great. So look back from the week and check out the Bitmoji classroom. It's really, really fun.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. And, you know, we've been saying amongst our team that there is so much uncertainty this fall, but we are certain that Kid Governor will happen. And that was something we agreed on from the very beginning, that just like elections that continue no matter what's happening, we were going to make sure this program continued. So it's thanks to all of your enthusiasm and support that really is possible. So I want to thank all of you for participating, Elaine for chiming in, and Christy and Micaela and Kristen for all of your expertise and your thoughts and such positivity and excitement, which, you know, Kristen, as you've said to me before, when you get in front of that class, you have to be excited and sell it. And you guys do everything to, of all things, make state government and voting in elections exciting. And we really, really appreciate that. As Elaine mentioned, if you missed any of our workshops, they're all up on YouTube, and we're sharing them out on social media. So make sure, if you haven't already, you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's where you can get the latest updates on what's going on. And especially in the next week, we have a really big announcement that'll be coming up next week regarding our current Kid Governor, Myra Stanfield. So can't say it publicly yet, but keep an eye out on social media early next week. And take a look at these workshops, which are only about, as you know, an hour and a quarter or so, and they have really good information in preparing you for this fall. And of course, as we've been asking every night, will your student be the next kid governor? And it's such an exciting time right now that we are able to continue with this election, and we are looking forward to mid-November when we will be able to announce who will be that sixth face right up on the screen. I will say also as a little preview to keep an eye on your emails, there's an exciting program we have coming up in early September to mark our official 5th anniversary, which will involve the 5 faces that you see on the screen, the first 5 Connecticut's kid governors. And it'll be a virtual program that we'll host in early September. So keep an eye out for that. And as you've heard, we are here to help. We know that this is a very difficult and I'm sure stressful time trying to figure out what your school year will look like. And I want you to know, not only are we thinking about you, we are on top of the news, we are following the Department of Education, we are reading district reopening plans from all across the state to get a sense of how schools are looking at things going back this fall. So we are doing our best to keep abreast of all the news, and we really do feel for you, and we are on your side to support you however we can. So drop us an email, or we can also set up a Zoom call or a phone call if that works for you, and let us know how we can best support you. But otherwise, thank you for joining us this evening, and to those of you who've been with us this week, we really appreciate that enthusiasm and excitement, and we look forward to working with all of you this fall. So be well and have a great weekend. Thanks a lot.